My name is Claire. I'm 32 years old, and I grew up in Michigan in one of those families where everyone lives close to each other, and missing a holiday is basically a crime. If you didn't show up, you'd hear about it for months. And then there's Vanessa, my cousin. She's 2 years younger than me, and ever since we were kids, she's been the golden one. The beautiful one. The one everyone pays attention to. And I mean beautiful. The kind of beautiful that feels unfair. Long blonde hair, green eyes, perfect body. The kind of woman who could wear anything or nothing and still have every man in the room staring at her. And the worst part? She knows it. The first time it happened, I was 23. I had just started dating a guy named Marcus. He was sweet, quiet, a little shy, but kind in a way that made me feel safe. We'd been together for about 4 months, and when Thanksgiving came around, I decided to bring him to meet my family. I was nervous. My family can be overwhelming. Loud, judgmental, the kind of people who think they're being honest when they're really just being rude. But Marcus insisted. He said he wanted to meet them. Said he was serious about me. So we went. Dinner was at my Aunt Diane's house, like always. Everything was normal at first. Food, noise, too many opinions about politics and football. And then Vanessa walked in. She was wearing this tiny red dress that had no business being at a family Thanksgiving. It looked like she was heading to a nightclub, not a dinner table with mashed potatoes and gravy. Nobody said anything. Nobody ever does. My mom just gave me this look like she already knew what was about to happen. After dinner, Marcus and I were sitting on the couch, talking with my uncle about something I barely remember. Football, probably. And then Vanessa came over. She didn't ask. She didn't hesitate. She just sat down right between us, physically pushing herself into the middle, her leg pressing against Marcus' leg, like I wasn't even there. She started talking to him immediately, asking about his job, laughing at everything he said, touching his arm every time she smiled, leaning forward just enough so he could see down her dress. I was sitting right there, and she acted like I didn't exist. Marcus looked uncomfortable at first. I could tell, but also, he's human. And Vanessa is. Vanessa. By the end of the night, I went into the kitchen and found them alone. She had her hand on his chest, laughing at something he said. When they saw me, Vanessa just smiled, this perfectly innocent smile, and said, "I was just telling Marcus how lucky he is to have you." Like nothing had happened. Marcus and I broke up 3 weeks later. He said he needed space, that he wasn't ready for something serious. 2 months after that, I saw a photo on Instagram. He was at a bar with Vanessa, his arm around her waist. That was the first time, but it wasn't the last. It became a pattern. Every relationship I had, every man I brought around my family, Vanessa took him. It didn't matter what the occasion was. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, 4th of July. If I showed up with someone, she showed up dressed like she was going out for the night. And by the end of it, she had his attention. There was Ryan, the teacher I dated when I was 25. She cornered him near the dessert table and spent half an hour talking about her charity work, acting like she was this incredible, selfless person. They exchanged numbers for volunteering. They texted for weeks. There was David, the accountant. She asked him to help her move furniture. I wasn't invited. When I confronted him, he told me I was being jealous, controlling, like I was the problem. There were others too. James, Tyler, Christopher, every single one. And the worst part wasn't even Vanessa. It was my family. They saw it happening. Every time. And they said nothing. My mom would pull me aside and say Vanessa didn't mean anything by it, that she was just being friendly. My aunt would tell me I shouldn't bring men around if I couldn't handle a little competition. My grandmother actually told me I should work on being more feminine, and maybe then I could keep a man interested. So, eventually, I stopped bringing anyone. For years, I showed up to every holiday alone. I told everyone I was focusing on my career, that I was happy being single. But the truth? I was still dating. I just refused to give Vanessa another chance to take something from me. I was 31 when I met Trevor, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt different. He was a doctor. Smart, funny, calm. The kind of man who didn't play games, who listened when I spoke, who made me feel like I mattered. We were together for 8 months. 8 solid, stable, healthy months. No drama, no doubt, no competition, just peace. And then he started asking to meet my family. At first, I made excuses. Work was busy. The timing wasn't right. Holidays were stressful. But eventually, Christmas came around, and I ran out of reasons to say no. So I told him everything. I sat him down and explained it all. Every detail. Every guy Vanessa had taken. Every time I'd been humiliated. I told him what she would do. How she would flirt. Touch him. Try to get him alone. And I asked him, no, I begged him to stay close to me. To ignore her. To not fall for it. Trevor laughed. Actually laughed. He said, Claire, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to let your cousin seduce me at a Christmas party. He said he loved me. Told me to stop worrying. And I wanted to believe him. I really did. Christmas Eve came, and we drove to my parents' house. I felt sick the entire way there. Trevor kept holding my hand, telling me everything would be fine. When we arrived, Vanessa was already there. Of course she was. She was wearing a white sweater dress that fit like it had been painted onto her body, with high heels that made her legs look endless. Her hair was perfect, her makeup flawless. She looked like she belonged on a runway, not in my parents' living room. The moment she saw Trevor, her entire expression changed. Her eyes lit up. You must be Trevor, she said, walking straight toward him. She hugged him. Too long. Too close. Trevor stayed polite, but distant. He kept his arm around my waist, kissed my forehead, stayed near me. And slowly, I started to relax. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe he really was different. But Vanessa doesn't rush. She waits. She circles. The entire night, she stayed close, joining conversations, laughing at his jokes, asking about his work, looking at him like he was the only person in the room. At one point, she spilled wine on her dress, and then she turned to Trevor. Oh no, you're a doctor, right? Do you know how to get stains out? I saw the hesitation in his face. I saw him glance at me, and then he followed her into the kitchen. They were gone for 15 minutes. When they came back, she looked perfect again, and Trevor looked different, flushed, slightly distracted. He said they were just talking, that she had questions about her mom's surgery. But I knew that look. I had seen it before. We left early that night. I said I had a headache. He drove in silence while I cried. He kept telling me nothing happened, that I was overreacting, that Vanessa was just friendly. But deep down, I already knew how this story ended. We broke up in February. He said he needed to focus on his residency. I didn't even argue, because I had heard it all before. And after that, I was done. After Trevor, something in me just shut down. I stopped dating seriously. Stopped trying. Stopped believing that anything would actually work out. And eventually, I stopped going to family events too. It just wasn't worth it anymore. The stress, the humiliation, the constant feeling that no matter what I did, I would always come second. So I stayed away. I focused on work, on routines, on keeping my life quiet and controlled. And then something unexpected happened. I started volunteering at a literacy program at my local library. It wasn't anything dramatic. I just needed something to do, something that felt meaningful. One of the programs involved writing letters to inmates who were trying to improve their reading and writing skills. At first, I hesitated, but then I thought, why not? They matched me with someone named Michael. He was 34, serving the last 2 years of a 7-year sentence for armed robbery. His first letter was simple, just a few lines, thanking me, saying he wanted to get better at writing. So I wrote back. I told him basic things about my life, my job, the weather, nothing personal. But when he replied, it was different. He opened up about growing up in Detroit, about the mistakes he made, about how prison forced him to slow down and really think about who he was. His writing wasn't perfect, but it was honest, and that honesty felt refreshing. We kept writing. Once a week turned into twice a week. Then almost every day, he told me about the books he was reading, the classes he was taking, his plans for when he got out. He wanted to work construction, maybe go back to school someday. He had an aunt who would let him stay with her until he got on his feet. And slowly, I started opening up too. I told him about my family, about Vanessa, about how every relationship I had ever had seemed to fall apart in the exact same way. And instead of brushing it off, he understood. He didn't tell me to be more confident. He didn't tell me I was overreacting. He just said something simple. Your cousin sounds like someone who only feels good when she makes other people feel small. And for the first time, it felt like someone actually saw what I had been dealing with. We wrote to each other for 8 months, and somewhere along the way, those letters became the best part of my day. Then one day, he told me he was getting out in 2 months, and he asked if I wanted to meet. No pressure, just coffee. I should have said no. It didn't make sense. It wasn't safe. It wasn't logical. But I said yes. Maybe because I was lonely. Maybe because I was curious. Or maybe because for once I wanted something in my life that had nothing to do with my family. And nothing Vanessa could touch. We met in October at a small coffee shop in Grand Rapids. I was nervous. This was someone I had been talking to for months, but had never actually seen in real life. He walked in, and I recognized him immediately. Tall, broad shoulders, short dark hair. Not polished, not flashy, just real. He looked nervous too. We sat down, and we talked. For 3 hours. And it was easy. So easy it almost felt strange. No awkwardness. No pretending. Just conversation. After that, we kept seeing each other. Movies. Walks. Dinner. And slowly, it turned into something real. Michael wasn't like anyone I had dated before. He listened. He paid attention. He didn't play games. He could tell when something was wrong before I even said it. And for the first time in my life, I felt like someone actually saw me. Not compared me. Not measured me. Just saw me. Then Thanksgiving came, and my mom called. She wanted me to come. Said everyone missed me. Said it had been too long. I didn't want to go. But that night, lying in bed, I told Michael everything again. About Vanessa. About what always happens. And he just looked at me and said, "Take me." I laughed. I told him it was a terrible idea. That Vanessa would eat him alive. That she had destroyed every relationship I'd ever had. He just shrugged. "I've been in prison for 7 years," he said. "I think I can handle your cousin." And for a moment, I hesitated. But then I thought, what was the worst that could happen? I had already lost everything before. So I said yes. Thanksgiving morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach. Michael seemed calm. Completely calm. We drove to my parents' house, and I gave him one last warning. She's going to try everything. He just took my hand. "I'm not going anywhere." We walked in, and there she was. Vanessa, dressed exactly how I expected. Tight black dress. Perfect makeup. Perfect hair. She saw Michael, and I swear I could see it. That moment. That calculation. That decision. She walked straight over, smiling. Confident. Dangerous. And she started. The questions, the touching, the laughing, the same routine I had seen 100 times before. But this time, something was different. Michael didn't react. He answered politely, then turned back to me, stayed close, kept his hand on my back. Every time she tried to pull him away, he didn't go. Every time she leaned in, he leaned out. I could see it in her face. Confusion, frustration. She wasn't used to this. Dinner came and went. She kept trying. He kept ignoring her. And then came the moment, the one I knew too well. She cornered him alone, by the drinks table. I watched from across the room, heart racing, waiting for it, waiting for the moment everything would fall apart again. She leaned in, touched his chest, said something in his ear, and then he stepped back, said something, and walked away, back to me, sat down next to me like nothing happened. Vanessa stood there, frozen, for the first time in her life. She looked shocked, and for the first time in mine, I felt something different. Relief. In the car, I asked him what she said. He hesitated, then told me. She said you were insecure, that I could do better. My stomach dropped, and I told her I wasn't interested. That was it. No hesitation, no confusion, just no. And something inside me finally broke. Not in a bad way, in a freeing way. I cried, not because I was hurt, but because for the first time, I wasn't. But of course, it didn't end there. A week later, my family turned on me. Because Vanessa told them about Michael's past. Made him sound dangerous. Made herself the victim. Again. And then it got worse. She started digging into his life. Looking for anything she could use against him. Even planning to report him to the police. That's when I felt it. Real anger. Not insecurity. Not sadness. Anger. But Michael stayed calm. Because he had something she didn't expect. Proof. A recording. of her flirting, manipulating, trying to pull him away. We were ready. But then, everything shifted. Vanessa broke. She apologized, admitted everything. Her jealousy, her insecurity, her need for validation. I didn't forgive her. Not completely, but I let go. Because I finally understood something. This was never about me. It was always about her. Today, my life is simple. A small apartment, a rescue dog, a man who chose me, not her. And maybe that's the biggest victory of all. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not competing anymore. I'm just living. And that's enough.